Over the light of the Italian Sea is the despair of olive trees, and on the map of Europe, Spain, a black basketful of olives, dusted off by orange blossoms, as if by a sea breeze, olive oil, the internal supreme, condition for the cooking pot, pedestal for game birds, heavenly key to mayonnaise, smooth and tasty, over the lettuce, and supernatural in the hell of the king mackerels like archbishops, our chorus. With intimate, powerful smoothness you sing, you are the Spanish language.
Laura, beautiful poem written by Pablo Neruda, born 1904 to 1973. That was written in 1956. He won a Nobel Prize in Literature in 1971, just before he passed. He was Chilean, lived in Spain for a number of years. And that's Ode to Olive Oil, which is, I think, the title of today's podcast.
Awesome. So welcome, everyone, to episode 4. We are your co-host,
Nalini Sharma.
And Laura Senior Garcia. It is absolutely delightful to be here with you again. And thank you so much for all the interactions and the audience, basically, that, dialed in, you could say, to listen to our first few podcast episodes. We are really, really happy to be here with you again today, discussing the wonders of not just olives, but olive oil and everything olives.
Everything olives. Now, Spain is the world's largest producer, first of all, of olive oil. About 50% of olive oil production, export comes from this country, which I sort of knew that, but that's a huge number.
I think I read between 40 and 50%.
Yeah.
The way that I saw it described is basically every one olive, if you say 2 bottles of olive oil, every one from 2 that you pick up around the world is made from Spanish olives.
Yeah, which is, a fantastic number. I love olives. I've always loved olives. And I think the world actually loves olives because you can go into almost any, I would say, market, whether you're here in Europe or you're in Canada or America, and there will be an olive bar.
Of some sort.
Of some sort.
The interesting thing with olives as well is that I think you either kind of love them or hate them. I saw a lot of reactions online when we were preparing for this episode, where people actually filmed themselves trying an olive for the first time.
Really?
Yes. And I think for this country, if you haven't tried an olive by the time you're, 3 or 4 years old, that would be strange. For other places, I think it's still, depending on where you are, there's more exposure to the product or less. But certainly here, it's such an integral part of the culture, not just the olives themselves, which you will be served olives when you ask for a beer or a caña or in any bar as a little tapa, but also the actual olive oil, that we cook with. I think very, very few households in Spain will actually cook with something different than olive oil, unless they're frying, that then they'd actually use more like a seed oil.
Right. And I even know from just shopping here, when I go to the supermarket or if I do need to fry something, it is sort of a mission. You actually specifically have to look for that oil to fry with. Well, a little bit about olives. First of all, it's a fruit.
Yeah.
It's a stone fruit, closely related to mango, peach, cherries, avocado. It's a fruit.
So everything that's got like a big seed in the middle, right?
Yeah, it's considered a stone fruit. But what's interesting about the olive or olives, it's very high in fat, but good fat. So, if you're sitting at a party or you're at home and you have a little, snack board and you start eating olives, I'm always concerned as to how many calories.
Well, I think you would actually probably tend to think, oh, I'm eating the olives. I'm eating the healthy option of what's on the table.
Not the chips.
Yeah, exactly. But then the other surprising thing that we found out, which is a bit of a shocker to me, is that green olives are actually way lower in calories than black olives. So for example, it's like 100 grams of green olives is about 120 calories. 100 grams of black olives, which by the way are my least favorite personally, are like 289 calories. So it's like, what's that all about? I always kind of thought, oh, maybe the black olives, they have some more incredible properties because they're less tasty, if you ask me.
And well, these ones are quite large, but usually they tend to be a little bit smaller too.
Yeah. So basically, if we were to eat all the olives that we have in front of us here, we'd probably be better off packing in a Burger King than actually eating these.
Well, I tried to average it out. So from the nutritional table that I found, about 10 olives, depending obviously on the size. Let's just use an average size of what an olive would be.
We've got about 8 different sizes here.
10 olives equals about 60 calories.
Wow.
But it's 80% water,
so
which I didn't know. I thought it would be mostly fat.
In my head, when I eat them, I just think like, oh no, the green just like it evens everything out and, just kind of like forget the calories. So afterwards, we'll try some of the olives and we'll try the wonderful drink that we have here. But what's one of the reasons that kind of drove you or led you to want to discuss olives and olive oil in today's episode? What do you think was surprising to you as someone who's not from Spain, the culture around the olives and the olive oil here?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a foodie, but I find food history very interesting. And when you sort of start researching olives, what you do find is that ancient civilizations, I mean, I'm not a historian, this is just research that I've done, but they were the most successful ancient civilizations, from the Greeks to the Moors. They had olive oil.
Yes.
But they didn't use it first in food. They used it for electricity, like for not electricity, but for lighting their lamps, for heat. Fuel. Yes. Fuel. Imagine. That was their version of power. And then when civilizations fell, they also lost it. It coincided with them losing olives, their olive production. Or if there was a war, often they would destroy their olive trees because you would destroy their
source of fuel.
Yes.
That's amazing. So a couple of facts that actually I thought were really interesting. So a lot of the olive trees that we call millenary here, or that milenario, which are thousands of years old.
Yes.
You can find trees in this country that are over 1,500 years old, and they were kind of relating it to the Roman Empire. Going, imagine that you're going to see one of these trees and potentially there was a gladiator sitting underneath that tree. I mean, they were all the way back to the Roman Empire. They were here. And interestingly enough, and we'll talk about olive oil in a little bit, there are some olive oils that are very exclusive that are sold here in Spain that are made from those several thousand-year-old trees.
Yeah.
Now, they come with a price tag, but, that's definitely...
I'm sure a hefty price tag. Well, if you look at... I started to look at, not just the history of olives, which dates back to, some say, 4,000 BC, but also I tried to figure out, how did humans figure out to put this in brine or salt and cure it and eat it? Because if you were to take an olive from a tree, you couldn't eat it. It tastes terrible.
Yeah.
They think there's no definitive answer, but historians have said possibly that some olives might have fallen into seawater.
I can believe
and that they were just in the seawater and somebody picked it up and said, hey,
this is edible.
This is pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
and it's funny historically how many of these things do happen by mistake.
Exactly.
Like, it's like you don't really come out and go, okay, I'm going to put this olive, with salt and, water, and, it actually happens by mistake, because if not, like you said, it would be very hard to get to that edible olive.
Right. And there's honestly they cannot really discover. All they know that it is ancient. It was, it's, native to the Mediterranean region. So you've got Palestine, you have Israel, you have...
It's a huge part of
the
Mediterranean culture.
Yeah, that where olives originated, have been cultivated, and they're just such an integral part of the daily life. And when I see an olive tree, every tree is different. Every tree. I have several in my garden.
Yep.
And I love them. I get so upset when the gardener comes to cut the top, but you have to cut the top to kind of keep it in a shape.
Yeah.
I love them.
It's kind of good for the tree as well. Also, I read that, interestingly enough, some ancient civilizations used to use the olive oil to bathe in it.
Oh, well, I see people, they're olive oil beauty products. People put it on their hands. People take a shot in the morning for health benefits.
That. We'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah.
I wanted to mention the UN symbol. Did you know that those are 2 olive branches?
I did know. It doesn't, and like usually also the olive branches tied with the pigeon is like a sign of peace.
In Olympics, in the ancient Olympics, they were given the crown, the olive crown, as the prize
from olive branches. There's a lot of symbolism around, even in many different religions. There's a lot of symbolism around olive branches, olive trees, etc. So I think it's just interesting how sometimes we don't realize how a fruit, like you mentioned, because sometimes it's even hard for me to think or describe it as a fruit because I see it as savory, kind of like when we talk about avocado being a fruit, but how a fruit is so intertwined with, our day-to-day life and history without even realizing it.
No, and I think the poem that you read, that line it is the language of Spain.
Yes.
It really is. I mean, it could be the language of Italy or Greece or a number of different countries, but it is ancient. It's embedded here. And can you imagine going into a Spanish house, any house, and
not seeing olive oil?
I mean, that would be...
It would be strange.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. I mean, that's something that I would expect to find as a staple in any house, is a bottle of olive oil. And by the way, lately, I think people, have struggled with it because the prices of olive oil have really gone up.
Liquid gold.
Exactly. Liquid gold. So we've talked a little bit about the fruit itself. Let's talk about olive oil and the experience that we had getting to learn more about olive oil. We've got some of these beautiful olive oils here. So do you want to tell us a little bit about where we visited and some fun facts around that?
We went to, we drove to Alcoy, which actually is a really beautiful drive. It's a bit far from where we are, about an hour, but it's really pretty. It's actually a really nice drive. And the name of this place is Masía el Altet.
Masía el Altet, yes.
What does that translate into?
Masía is like a finca or a house, but usually in Masía you are either producing something in it or there's an older kind of infrastructure there. So it's not a farm, but Masía is usually like an older house that with more history. You wouldn't call it Masía like a new construction, if you see what I mean.
And the Altet is the elevation.
I am not sure about that. Maybe it is Altet as in alto, like high. Yeah. Maybe it is that, but I'm not actually sure where the name comes from.
I think I read that on their website.
Okay.
But we went there. It is when you enter into the property, it is a private home. It is not open to the public, although we were told that people do see the sign and think that they can buy olive oil or take a tour. There is no tour to be had. We called ahead and he was very accommodating.
And I have to say, shout out to Jorge, if he's hearing this, but it is, he did a wonderful job and it was a real surprise because when we called to ask if we could go visit, they actually said, you'll have to talk to Jorge for that. But they didn't actually say who Jorge was. No. So we just showed up there and then one nice gentleman that was on his tractor coming back from actually cleaning out the fields said, okay, you must be here for Jorge. And we're like, yeah, I guess. So it's like, he's on the way. Okay. So, we kind of show up to this beautiful mansion. We're trying to look for quote unquote the shop
or a door
but
or it's
something.
Their house.
Yes.
And we're rattling doors.
and then Jorge shows up, who's again, lovely gentleman, and he is the son of the owners and the people who started Masía el Altet. The reason why we wanted to go to Masía el Altet, I mentioned to Nalini a while back that, look, I tasted this olive oil in a restaurant a while ago. It's a really delicious olive oil, and it's not far from here, so we should go visit. Unbeknownst to us, actually, Masía el Altet doesn't sell a lot of their olive oil here in Spain anymore. That's why I haven't actually been able to find it in supermarkets or even see it in many restaurants for a long time. So can you share with our wonderful audience the percentage of their oil that goes to somewhere else?
But did he say it was about 80%?
I think he said 40% to Japan, but 80% outside of Spain.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think 40% of the export was to Japan,
which blew me away. But he said the Japanese are obsessed with quality and they want the best of the best.
Yes.
And he also said that it's the only place that they actually sell it here. I think
he said El Corte Inglés,
and
another
a
shop. Gourmet store in
Alicante
somewhere. So El Corte Inglés and this little gourmet store. Interestingly enough, I don't even think it's that expensive for the quality of olive oil it is, but obviously what he was sharing with us is that their price point does attract, or it's more accepted in a foreign market such as Japan. Again, going back to the quality, it's interesting that in our episode about Loewe, we talked about how the Japanese really like that brand. They also are super interested in the olive oil and the jamon. And one of the things that I definitely saw while I was there last time is there is a fascination with the Spanish culture, with Spain, with,
it's very interesting.
It's very interesting. So he actually was telling us that they send some of the best samples and then they pick which one of the tanks they actually want to purchase. Because the other thing about the production that we had no idea about before visiting is they actually pick by day. So like this day is when these olives were picked, when they were produced goes into this tank. So each tank is a day. And I think they said they produce about 100,000 bottles of olive oil per year.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, he explained the fact that where they are in Alcoy, they're in a microclimate. So they're about 800 to 900 meters above sea
level.
But then they get the breeze from the sea as well. So he made a funny joke that you could be on the beach. He could go to the beach and be having a beer, in the sunshine, and then drive up to the production facility and it's cold.
Absolutely. And what he also mentioned is what makes their olives so tasty and the olive oil have that distinct kind of artichoke-y flavor is the difference in temperature from the hottest point of the day to the coldest point in the night, which can be in some cases a 20-degree drop in one day. That's actually what gives the unique taste. And the other thing that was quite comical about that was when we asked him how they pick them, because he said there was 70 hectares. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
And he basically turned around and said, any way we can, because we only have a 15-day window to pick all of these olives. So be it, people literally picking by hand, to tractors, to
they use that
shaking machine.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it. It looks like a old school, those belts that they used to use like in the 70s where it's like, so like actually like shake your fat away sort of thing, but around the olive tree to shake all the olives down.
I told you this about 2 years ago, I harvested olives.
Nice.
In Benifato.
Yes.
My son has a friend whose family, they sort of do this it's a bit of a hobby and they sell it in their cafe. So, and I asked her repeatedly, I said, would you let me come and, partake? And she thought, this was her weekend every weekend.
This woman is crazy. Why does she want to come here to pick olives? Because for most people who have olive trees, it is a little bit of a torture because it is, it's not like picking apples where you go, oh, nice, I have this one apple and I can eat it.
No.
To make olive oil, you need hundreds of thousands of olives. And I think that's what people also may not get. It's not like, I have one olive tree, I can make a bottle of olive oil. No.
It was work. And I thought, and she told me where you're the worst. I wish I hadn't listened to her. She told me we're the worst clothes that you have. But I get up there and it's, first of all, stunningly beautiful.
You can't get a nice picture because you're not wearing clothes
I'm wearing, honestly, the worst thing with the strange hat I have on as well. She told me, wear a hat. Okay, I have all these things. But it was like out of a movie. We went up to the little town. We went in the tractor. Her mother-in-law made little coffees for us. Bonbon.
Nice. Yeah, bonbon.
We had that with little sweets. That was our breakfast. And then we started working. But the whole family works in it.
Yeah.
And my son and I and his friend and we spent a lovely morning doing
get the neighbors to come along. Yes.
I thought it was super interesting. And that's literally what they do. They have sort of like a long spear. They put it in the tree. They turn it on. It vibrates.
And then it makes
all the olives fall to the ground, and you catch it on a net, and then you like pick it up, and then you put it in the baskets.
So remember, next time you try extra virgin olive oil, particularly, it takes a lot of work, just like we said with the cava, etc., to get to that final product.
Oh, and just one thing Jorge told us, to be considered extra virgin olive oil. This is from the Council of Olive Oil, which I guess is a thing. Producers only have to have 15% of actual extra virgin olive oil. So if you see olive oil that's €3, it's probably not.
So we are letting the cat out of the bag here,
It's
but
probably not
really
all extra
15%.
virgin. 15%.
1.5 is all you need to be able to call it extra virgin olive oil.
Yes.
And the other thing as well that's worth mentioning, and again, we are not sponsored by Masía el Altet. No, it was just a really cool experience, is that theirs is purely extra virgin olive oil. So the properties around it, the taste profile, etc., I think it's just fantastic. I will say that, and if our husbands are listening to this, they can cover their ears, and maybe Jorge's going to blush. Jorge's going to blush a little bit, but it was easier to listen to all these facts because he was extremely cute.
Yeah. It was very funny because we did the whole thing, and we're, asking all this super intelligent questions about production and what type of olives. And we're like, And then we went inside into where they were actually packaging, putting the bottles into boxes for a shipment. And then we did a tasting, and he was, very patient man.
Yes.
And then we said, okay,
and by the way, the tasting, let's describe that a little bit. So again, when I think of an olive oil tasting, the first thing that comes to mind is grab a piece of bread, dip it in the oil. In this case, we actually did olive oil shot, which if you are looking to improve the speed of your digestive system, it's a really good thing to do. Yeah. But it is quite, you can tell the taste and everything else, but I wouldn't say that's the way to enjoy the product.
No, that's just how he gave us sort of
the tasting,
an education. And we also walked away with some chocolate.
Yes, we did. Actually, one more thing I want to mention about Masía el Altet before we kind of go to our slice of life that I think is worth mentioning. I'm going to try and grab this. So some of you may have heard of the chef Joël Robuchon, who passed away already. But for a while, he was considered to be, and he's still recognized as being one of the best chefs in the world, or one of the best chefs in our kind of contemporary time to live. He has still, the Robuchon family have like a huge amount of restaurants, Michelin star restaurants around the world. Joël Robuchon actually tasted Masía el Altet in an exhibit in Japan because they've won a bunch of awards, and said that they were very interested in that olive oil being the only olive oil that they serve in the restaurant. So we were given a bottle of Joël Robuchon selection, which you can only actually usually have at the Joël Robuchon restaurant. And it was a really, really nice little detail from our friend Jorge there.
Did you open yours?
I haven't opened it yet. It is, I don't know, but
it's one of ours.
Yes, it's one of ours, but I don't think I've opened it yet, but I know we're going to use it for our challenge that, some of you may be able to see on socials. So that's a little bit about Masía el Altet. So anything else we want to mention about olives or olive oil?
Just when we were getting in the car after our visit, and then you and our friend who came with us said, wait, was that guy cute or what?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, excuse me? Yeah, exactly.
Well, we weren't expecting it, so it was nice. But it was honestly, to do something like that, and to, just to be allowed into that little world, it is something that was really magical.
Yes. So recommendation, I know a lot of people when they come to Spain, they'll go visit a winery, etc. If you have the chance to go and see somewhere where they are producing olive oil and go experience that, definitely worthwhile. And I know, Nalini, one interesting thing that you shared with us during that trip is that you can become a sommelier for olive oil, which is kind of neat.
There's an educational society here. The course is very expensive.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this would be interesting. Maybe it's, I don't know, an online
like a couple
course
€100.
Yeah, a weekend. It's not. It's like upwards of 5,000-6,000 euros.
Yeah, so you really have to be committed to olive oil.
Yeah, and the idea is that you would work with a restaurant group or, a high-end restaurant as the sommelier alongside the wine sommelier.
Interesting.
I thought it was fascinating.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, should we move to our
Slice of life?
Slice of life. So, slice of life.
Slice of life.
So, reminder for everyone, when we do our slice of life, we taste a little bit of the food that relates to what we're talking about or the topic of the podcast, and we talk a little bit about what's going on in our lives, recent travels, our fun things that have happened. Before we fully transition away from the olive oil conversation, I did want to say that I looked for what is the most expensive olive oil in the world. There's some mixed there's some mixed information out there.
Is it from Greece?
I don't know, because the one I found, and I don't know if this was the cookies on my, search engines kind of acting up because I was in Spain, but the one that came up is an olive oil from Spain that is called El Poaig, Poaig.
Okay.
And that olive oil is from those thousands-year-old trees.
Wow.
And it's 260 to 280 per bottle.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if anyone would want to go and spend that on olive oil, but if you're a real connoisseur and you're treating yourself to something, maybe the same as when someone treats himself to a really nice bottle of wine. But I did want to mention that was like, wow, one of the most expensive olive oils is made here. And of course, the process is extremely detailed and refined. Yeah. So let's transition to our slice of life. You want to tell us a little bit about what we have on the table, Nalini?
Okay, well, we have a lovely selection here of olives.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 7 kinds of olives, because we've got the black ones and the other ones there. But I did want to mention that something we didn't mention during the episode before is that there are approximately 200 different kinds of olives here in Spain.
Oh, wait, we're drinking martinis now.
So we've got olives, and can you tell us a little bit about our drink?
How come every time I drink mine, this hits
little
me in the
spear?
face?
It's a spear, right?
Yeah.
Olive
Yours
stick.
stays still. You're more elegant at it. It's my first martini ever in my life.
So you want to tell us a little bit about the martini?
Okay, well, we did it with gin from Costa Blanca, local. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. I'm not sure, but I think it has a really nice flavor to it. It's breakfast time, by the way, so... Yeah. And it's
don't judge us.
No, and a martini is actually a very simple drink. It's either gin, if I'm not mistaken, or vodka with vermouth.
Yes. Now this is a dirty martini. Yes. So a dirty martini, which is something that is actually not very well known here in Spain. The first time I tried a dirty martini was in Houston, Texas. Has the olive brine in the cocktail. And if you want to check out how to make the cocktail, we've uploaded a little video to our socials of how to do it. But it's a dirty martini. It's my first time having this cocktail with gin. I normally have it with vodka and vermouth. I do like it, but I think I like it because this is a very soft gin. This Costa Blanca gin is not like a really strong, like a Bombay Sapphire or a Tanqueray. It's a really kind of soft gin. So I do like it. It's very smooth. So should we try the olives?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so we've got the little spear. And by the way,
I'm not using a spear.
Looked up the etiquette behind, how do you eat olives with pits, right? So supposedly you take the spear, you stab the olive without throwing your martini over, and then you put it in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. I've already messed up. Mm-hmm. And you cover your mouth.
You cover your mouth with the other hand, and you dispose of the olive pit with the dominant hand. Okay. So next time you're at a table and you're wondering, what do I do? It's like, just cover your mouth, take the pit out, if you're comfortable with that way.
This one's
so
delicious,
that's the etiquette.
by the way.
This one is very good. It's got a real kind of was it amargo, sour, almost, taste to it. Okay, those were the super spicy ones.
Yeah. Can you tell our listeners what the woman said yesterday when we were choosing all the olives? She first of all, she had never heard of a dirty martini.
She said, you learn something new every day. It's like, there you go. You can have all the brine that you have in this little shop and take it and do martinis with it. So what she said, she asked me, because she could see that I was interacting with Nalini in English.
Yeah.
And, I was obviously speaking with her in Spanish. And she turned around to me and said, what are you buying all these olives for? It's like, oh, we're actually like, oh, no, I was asking you because if you're doing a party for English people, like I need to give you the softer ones because they don't usually like the stronger ones. I'm like, okay. So lovely. And by the way, when you go to the local markets, most markets will have some kind of little stall that sells olives and nuts, etc. And they are very willing to let you taste them as well.
You know what? She was so helpful.
Yes.
And I think she was excited that we were actually asking questions like, what's this? What's this one? And I mean, I'm assuming that if she's working there, she has to have a wealth of knowledge. And they want to share it with you. So yeah, I would recommend or suggest that if you do go to a market and there are olives, ask for a sample and ask questions, because first of all, you'll know what you like. And then the owner, they're so happy to interact and share their knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think is quite comical that just came to mind is, as you know, my daughter, Valentina, who is on the autism spectrum, olives are like one of her favorite things. So whenever we sit down at a restaurant, her mind directly goes to, we're at a restaurant, I can get olives. She loves olives. But the problem is that it doesn't matter what restaurant we're in, she wants the olives straight away. So she starts asking the waiter like, olivas, like, and sometimes at a Chinese restaurant, for example, they don't serve olives. So, it's quite interesting. Like she relates restaurant/olives. So
will you stab one of those?
Yes. The black ones?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about recent travels.
Okay.
So Nalini, why don't we start with you? You went to Morocco for the first time.
We went a couple weeks ago to Tetouan.
Oh, okay.
I've been to Morocco before. We went to Casablanca and Rabat. This time we decided to go to Tetouan. It's a 55-minute flight from Alicante. Yeah. Unbelievable, 55-minute flight. It was interesting, but I am not going back.
How come? What didn't you kind of vibe with?
It was cold, which I knew it was going to be cold. So that was fine. The hotel we stayed at, it is 5+ star. It is a spectacular hotel. The service is unreal. The food, everything. I just didn't like the vibe. I didn't like the energy. I found it a little bit of a manufactured area.
Yeah.
It honestly looked a lot like Albier.
Structured for tourists.
Yes.
You could say.
A lot of white
Were
villas.
you getting heckled a lot when you went out on the street, like people trying to get you to buy stuff?
Well, we decided to take a little day trip to the Blue City, Chef Shawan. Nice. Okay. And they told us at the hotel, we highly recommend it that you go. This was exactly what he said. It is about an hour drive on our national highway. And if you fly into Casablanca and you drive from there, you know that the roads are, they're crazy. When we got out of the airport, it's 10-15 minutes to the hotel and the roads are perfect.
Wow.
So I thought, an hour, hour on a national highway, it's going to be fantastic. The roads were fine, except for it's a winding road.
Oh my goodness.
Down, up mountains, down mountains. And our driver, lovely man, but thought that we needed endless family photos. So he would just stop and he would say, photo. And we're like, okay, family photo. We have a lot of family photos. We're all just standing there like this. And then he'd stop and be like, first door ever in this area. We're like, a door? Okay, let's get out. Look, beautiful view. Okay, let's get out. The hospitality he was fantastic.
Nice, right.
The Blue City, it's blue, let's just say that. But I did not like the energy after I left. I actually felt trapped because it is, it's a souk.
Okay.
And their entrance points. And then to leave, we couldn't find the exit point. So they kept telling us, go here. And then we kept walking. We couldn't find it. And then go here. We couldn't find it. And I started to feel a little claustrophobic that like,
I want to get out.
I can't get out of this blue city. I don't know how to get out. We did eventually make it out. And it was an interesting experience, but I don't want to go back. And the airport's a disaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks, I believe, after you went to Morocco, I was in Cape Town for the first time, South Africa. I loved it. Quality of the food was amazing. I don't think we had a bad meal. I really thought that it's so weird. Cape Town is many hours away from here by plane. But when you're driving around, it actually reminded me a lot of here. The mountains look very similar, the kind of bush, the kind of trees. So it's strange how somewhere, so far away can look similar in a way. And I did find some things that I think are also relatable from a cultural standpoint. And the one thing that I absolutely loved about it, I love animals. I'm a sucker when it comes to little animals that, you can just see, especially in the wild.
Yeah.
Going to see the African penguins on the beach, because for some reason, in my ignorance, I thought that penguins lived, on ice or, in very cold temperatures. So it was about 35 degrees when we were there, Celsius, so very, very hot. And the penguins were nesting. So they had, their eggs on the actual sand. Oh. And the females are taking care of the eggs for weeks while the males are going out and, getting the fish, etc. And they're just there. It's not like a reserve or anything like that. They're on the beach.
Wow.
So it was really, really special. I still have tan lines.
Can you swim in the water there?
I did, but I didn't swim. So there's a couple of beaches where the penguins tend to go. I swam on a beach that was close to where the penguins are, because they did say that they can bite. Obviously, they're protecting the nest.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is they're not scared of us, because apparently I read, and someone can fact check me on this, that they see us as other penguins, because we also walk on two legs like, they do.
That's really cute.
So they are not scared of us. Now, they'll bite because they're trying to protect their space. It's like, hey, don't come near my egg. But, they're not really scared of us. So the reason why I went to the other beach is you're not really supposed to swim where they are.
Habitat.
Yeah.
Right,
but it was amazing. Absolutely gorgeous. I would go back to Cape Town. I'd love to go back with you, actually. I think it would be lovely. It is a bit of a ways away. Yeah. And flew through Turkey for that. And actually, I wanted to do a shout out to Turkish Airlines.
Okay.
Fantastic. I think I wrote it down with me somewhere. They had these super cute, look how cute this is.
Oh, that's nice.
The little toiletries that they give you. I'm like, come on. When you get something nice, like Lanvin.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cute. And I just loved it. I thought, oh, that's so nice. I was like, oh, normally they're ugly and you want to kind of
that's
leave
nice.
them behind.
You can wear that
I was
as
like, where's
a
the
purse.
handbag?
Yeah.
So
on our Ryanair flight returning from Morocco.
Did they clap? Did they
yes,
clap?
First of all, there was clapping. One. Two, they ran out of water.
Okay, there you go. So Turkish Airlines giving out Lanvin toiletries, Ryanair, you got the claps and no water.
Yeah. I mean, it was 55 minutes. And listen,
exactly.
Just a disclaimer, Morocco is a beautiful country. I did not just enjoy that experience. Yeah. So I'm sure other people will go and enjoy it. I'm just giving you my honest,
absolutely,
my honest reaction to the few days that we were there.
So are you ready?
Oh, the phrase of the day?
Are we ready for this?
Yeah, 1 second. By the way, whichever that olive is or wherever it's from, the black olive.
Aragon.
It's the best black olive I've ever had.
Okay.
Because I don't
taste it.
I even take them off pizza. It's good.
Wow.
I don't like black olives at all.
Oh, this would go so well with cheese.
Which we do have. It's in the fridge, but we forgot it.
So, okay. Sentence of the day. Since our sentence of the day last time was highly controversial, and I did get some interesting comments on socials about it. Gone a little bit lighter this time, but it's still funny. So, the sentence of the day is Éramos pocos y parió la abuela.
Okay.
So, do you want me to translate that to English?
Oh, something about
Éramos pocos, like there was few of us. y parió la abuela. Do you know what that means?
Spell the last word.
Abuela.
Like grandma.
Grandma.
Okay.
So, éramos pocos y parió la abuela. Do you want me to translate it to English and you can try and figure it out?
Yeah.
There were few of us and then the grandmother gave birth.
Wow. There's a few of us and the grandmother gave birth. I'm going to say it's a party gone wrong.
So something's not right there. So a couple of different interpretations of this sentence. Like when there's already things are not going great, and it's like, oh my God, éramos pocos y parió la abuela. Like now something else happened, or like you said, a party gone wrong, or maybe there's a few of you at like a small event and a bunch more people show up, or the people that you know, it's like, éramos pocos y parió la abuela. Just the fact that someone would think about making this sentence about a grandmother giving birth, like, oh my goodness, like there was few of us and now our grandmother gave birth, you know, it's like, what is it?
I might start using these phrases, but I'll just say it in English.
Exactly. It's like, oh, there was few of us and our grandmother gave birth. And just watch like the reaction on people.
I'll just start saying them in English just randomly.
Okay, and since we've done the sentence of the day, coming up on our next episode, we are going to be talking about the unique, quirky, and beautiful town of Guadalest. So,
it's fun. That's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.